Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here. Thanks for joining me for an episode today that I am really excited to get to. I think this is going to be cool and kind of fun, and we're going to see some great cardboard as we go through it. But this is something that I thought of recently based on a conversation I was having with my hobby buddy Joe from Four Soft Corners. So we were texting back and forth about essentially our approach to collecting top sets, the flagship sets. Joe has a pretty extensive collection of the vintage Topps run and is kind of trying to decide what to do with those or maybe reshaping his collection a little bit. And our conversation got me to thinking about how I've changed in my approach to the Topps flagship set as it relates to modern cards. So I've been back in as an adult collector now since 2007. And when I first got back in, I tried to collect the Topps set every year, or at least I wanted to, because that's what you did when I was younger, my first go around, and I was just repeating what I knew. So for those first few years, even up until about 2015, I would go every spring when the new set came out, hit up my retail joint, get some blasters and packs, open those until I got to the point where they were becoming doubles and triples prohibitive. And then I would try to trade with friends that I knew or, buy singles online to fill out my sets. And then I'd store all the cards in numerical order, sorted in their boxes, and store them in my closet. And that's how I went about it for a few years. But eventually I realized that this wasn't, while this works for a lot of people and I admire people who collect that way, it's not for me. I just personally, when I get to the point where I have tens of thousands of or more, maybe hundreds of thousands of cards, I can't appreciate them all. And I don't really need, I'm just picking him out, so it's not anything personal, but I don't need a 2015 Topps Tyler Flowers card. I'm just not a completist like I thought I was when I was, feeling my way through the hobby back in those years. So leading up to now, present day, I thought we would do kind of a case study and I would show the 2022 Topps cards that I have in my collection, or related cards that I have in my collection, to kind of illustrate how I take a little bit more of a selective approach. So I don't try to complete the set. Maybe I'll buy a blaster in the spring just to kind of scratch the itch when it comes to opening some packs. And I like to see what the cards look like in hand for the year. But that's about it. I don't build the set anymore. What I try to do instead is find a select number of cards, maybe a dozen to 20 cards that are meaningful to me or that represent something cool that happened that season, or a player that I like, or a design element that I'm a fan of, and just try to limit it to that and appreciate those cards for what they are without having to get every single one. And so getting to 2022 here, we have obviously the first three cards in front of you that you've been staring at while I've been gabbing. In the middle, the short print image variation of Cal Ripken Jr. on the day that he broke the consecutive games played record. Just huge nostalgia card for me. And then that is bookended by the red foil cards that I've shown before. I'm a huge fan of those. Love that I got the Shohei Ohtani coming off his 2021 MVP year, and the Pujols tipping his cap to the crowd. That's an example of, a significant event in terms of him wrapping up his career that happened in 2022 that I'm happy to have represented in my collection. To go along with those, I have a couple others that I've shown before on the channel. We'll breeze through these quick, but I got a 3D Juan Soto here, just a cool 3D image with the bat flip. Love these every year and love their throwbacks to the kind of Kellogg's feel of the 70s. So I do try to get one or two of those of players that I like or cool images just to represent that year in my collection. Parallels. We see the red foils there on the edges, but I'm a big fan of parallels. And it's not because I don't like base cards. I do. I have tons of base cards in my collection, but I want a little bit more of a challenge. If I'm going to limit myself to, say, 15 cards from a particular year and design, I need something a little more challenging than a base card, because otherwise I could go out to Sport Lots, buy all 15 base cards for probably $2-3 total, and that would be it. And that's just not very challenging or entertaining or fun. So I have a few parallels that we're going to look at today. This one, again, I've shown before, but the Topps Black, Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. So I just love the combination here of, two of my favorite players and two of the widely acknowledged best players on the globe on the same card. Somewhat scarce, numbered to 72. Oh, I'm sorry, 71 in this case, and graded as well. So that's an awesome one there that I've shown. And then another thing that I thought was cool about 2022 Topps that I have talked about before, but I don't think I showed these together maybe at the time. Maybe I did. But the fact that Shohei Ohtani represents the first and last cards on the checklist in 2022, a la, 1954 Ted Williams, I just think that fact is really, really cool. He certainly deserves it with that 2021 MVP campaign that he had the year prior, and managed to track these down in matching Topps Gold PSA 9s. So there's, 2 more cards towards that representation. And then the rest of what I have to show today, with one exception, is stuff that you haven't seen before. New pickups that I made somewhat recently, just to kind of round out my 2022 Topps collection and get it to a point where it feels complete to me. And we'll start with another of the red hot foils that you see there. I'm a big fan of those, as I mentioned in a previous video, especially when it's team color matching. And so there's an obvious person missing here when you see the 2 that are in the backdrop. Recently put this one to bed. Of course, the Mike Trout red foil out of 199. The way these catch the light is just so awesome. Love the scarcity at 199 copies each. And obviously, that beautiful red on red Angels card. Simply fantastic. So there's one that you haven't seen before. And then I have 2 other pairs of cards, and these are interesting pairs that I'm kind of proud of. So I've shown this card a couple times recently, the Independence Day Aaron Judge. I picked this up initially because of my interest in him breaking the home run record in 2022. So obviously, if I'm going to have a small collection of 2022 cards, I feel like that feat needs to be represented, and found the Independence Day parallel, which to me is like the perfect American baseball type parallel. So just really happy to have this card, and got to thinking recently, he won the MVP last year as well. Why don't I look for his MVP counterpart on the Independence Day parallel also? And wouldn't you know it, found a Paul Goldschmidt, also nice team color matching with the Cardinals red there, who was the NL MVP in 2022, and got him on the Independence Day parallel out of 76. Also, copy 61. Wish the Judge was 61, but so pretty cool to have that pair. Love how these look together. They're perfect companion cards, and as long as I keep one of these, I'll keep them both, because they really, in my mind, they go hand in hand. And then just to show that this doesn't have to be expensive either, a lot of these weren't expensive pickups, but I sometimes do this on the very, very cheap. So the final idea that I came up with, at least for now, came to the realization that both of the Cy Young Award winners play for teams that have some orange in their colors, and was able to find the orange foil parallels of both. So Justin Verlander with the Astros and Sandy Alcantara with the Marlins. These are numbered out of 299. But where I can find a cool duo like this, these combined were $10 shipped to my door for this pair. That includes tax, shipping, everything. So I'm not claiming they're valuable cards. They're not. But I think that's just a cool way to represent and appreciate the 2022 baseball season and 2022 Topps in my collection. It's just really cool that they both happen to have orange teams, or teams that had at least partial orange in their colors at times, and just made sense. So thanks to the wonders of the modern internet, came up with that idea, shopped around, and about 10 minutes later, and about $10 lighter in the wallet, had these 2 heading my way. So it's a beautiful age we're living in as sports card collectors as far as convenience, and certainly an example of that. So that's pretty much a wrap. Those are really the only 2022 Topps baseball cards that I have, at least at the moment, and I don't really see myself adding to it. Again, probably a dozen cards there, but to me, I can appreciate every one of those, and they're all meaningful to me, and I just don't want to use the space and the mental space and the physical space to deal with cards that don't have any meaning to me anymore. So again, there's no right or wrong approach, but that conversation with Joe just kind of got me thinking along these lines. I've had this collection kind of forming anyway, and I thought this would make a great topic for a video. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. If you collect the Topps set or have any approach to collecting sets or Topps, would love to hear how you go about it. If you're a set completist, or if you kind of pick and choose like I did here, or maybe you have a different strategy entirely. But any thoughts on this, would love to hear from you. I appreciate everybody stopping by. And as you know, I'll be back in the very near future with some more sports card content. Till then, take care and enjoy the hobby, everyone.